The Renaissance period in English literature is also called the Elizabethan period, or the Age of Shakespeare. The Middle Ages in Europe were followed by the Renaissance. Renaissance means the revival of learning, and it denotes in its broadest sense the gradual enlightenment of the human mind after the darkness of the Middle Ages. With the fall of Constantinople in 1453 AD by the invasion of the Turks, the Greek scholars who were residing there spread all over Europe, and brought with them invaluable Greek manuscripts. The discovery of these classical models resulted in the revival of learning in the 14th and 15th centuries. The essence of this movement was that man discovered himself and the universe, and that man, so long blinded, had suddenly opened his eyes and seen. The flood of Greek literature which the new art of printing carried swiftly to every school in Europe revealed a new world of poetry and philosophy. Along with the revival of learning, new discoveries took place in several other fields. Vasco da Gama circumnavigated the earth, Columbus discovered America, Copernicus discovered the solar system and prepared the way for Galileo. Books were printed, and philosophy, science, and art were systematized. The Middle Ages were past, and the Old World had become new. Scholars flocked to the universities, as adventurers to the New World of America, and there the old authority received a death blow. Truth only was authority, to search for truth everywhere, as men sought for new lands and gold and the fountain of youth. That was the new spirit, which awoke in Europe with the revival of learning. The chief characteristic of the Renaissance was its emphasis on humanism, which means man's concern with himself as an object of contemplation. This movement was started in Italy by Dante, Petrarch and Boccaccio in the 14th century, and from there it spread to other countries of Europe. In England it became popular during the Elizabethan period. This movement, which focused its interest on the proper study of mankind, had a number of subordinate trends. The first in importance was the rediscovery of classical antiquity, and particularly of ancient Greece. During the medieval period, the tradition-bound Europe had forgotten the liberal tone of old Greek world and its spirit of democracy and human dignity. With the revival of interest in Greek classical antiquity, the new spirit of humanism made its impact on the Western world. The first Englishman who wrote under the influence of Greek studies was Sir Thomas More. His Utopia, written in Latin, was suggested by Plato's Republic. Sir Philip Sidney in his defense of poesy accepted and advocated the critical rules of the ancient Greeks. The second important aspect of humanism was the discovery of the external universe, and its significance for man. But more important than this was that the writers directed their gaze inward, and became deeply interested in the problems of human personality. In the medieval morality plays, the characters are mostly personifications: friendship, charity, sloth, wickedness and the like. But now during the Elizabethan period, under the influence of humanism, the emphasis was laid on the qualities which distinguish one human being from another, and give an individuality and uniqueness. Moreover, the revealing of the writer's own mind became full of interest. This tendency led to the rise of a new literary form, the essay, which was used successfully by Bacon. In drama Marlowe probed down into the deep recesses of the human passion. His heroes, Tamburlaine, Dr. Faustus and Barabbas, the Jew of Malta, are possessed of uncontrolled ambitions. Shakespeare, a more consummate artist, carried humanism to perfection. His genius, fed by the spirit of the Renaissance, enabled him to see life whole, and to present it in all its aspects. It was this new interest in human personality, the passion for life, which was responsible for the exquisite lyrical poetry of the Elizabethan age, dealing with the problems of death, decay, transitoriness of life etc. Another aspect of humanism was the enhanced sensitiveness to formal beauty, and the cultivation of the aesthetic sense. It showed itself in a new ideal of social conduct, that of the courtier. An Italian diplomat and man of letters, Castiglione, wrote a treatise entitled Il Cortigiano, the courtier, where he sketched the pattern of gentlemanly behavior and manners upon which the conduct of such men as Sir Philip Sidney and Sir Walter Raleigh was modelled. This cult of elegance in prose writing produced the ornate style called euphuism be lily. Though it suffered from exaggeration and pedantry, yet it introduced order and balance in English prose, and gave it pithiness and harmony. Another aspect of humanism was that men came to be regarded as responsible for their own actions, as Cassius says to Brutus in Julius Caesar. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves, that we are underlings. Instead of looking up to some higher authority, as was done in the Middle Ages, during the Renaissance period guidance was to be found from within. Lilly wrote his romance of Euphues not merely as an exercise in a new kind of prose, but with the serious purpose of inculcating righteousness of living, based on self-control. Sidney wrote his Arcadia in the form of fiction in order to expound an ideal of moral excellence. Spenser wrote his Faerie Queene, with a view to fashion a gentleman or noble person in virtuous and gentle disposition. Though we do not look for direct moral teaching in Shakespeare, nevertheless, we find underlying his work the same profoundly moral attitude.